By 2026, small to medium businesses treat AI adoption as an operational table stake rather than a speculative experiment. But an operational gap has emerged. Local brick-and-mortar brands and mid-sized agencies know they need to automate their workflows, but they lack the internal infrastructure and the technical expertise to actually deploy custom GPT agents. A specific subsector has surfaced to fill this exact void: the solo AI automation consultant. Recent market data tracks the baseline performance of these single-operator businesses. Once established, solo consultants are reliably hitting a revenue ceiling between $2,000 and $20,000 a month. This financial dashboard highlights the extreme unit economics of the model. We can see a startup cost between $2,000 and $15,000, the monthly revenue ceiling, and a net margin gauge consistently hitting 70 to 90%. That margin creates a tension in traditional business modeling. Service businesses typically hover around a 15 to 25% net margin. 90% profitability rivals top-tier software-as-a-service companies, yet this is entirely service-based. The architectural question is how a single operator bypasses traditional agency overhead to retain almost all of the revenue they generate. We are going to reverse engineer this specific business model. We will analyze how operators allocate their initial capital, the exact tool stack they deploy, and the operational failure modes that bankrupt novices. Achieving these metrics requires a strict shift in perspective, moving away from selling hours of labor and toward architecting systems of efficiency. This proportional block chart divides the maximum $15,000 capital expenditure into 3 distinct layers. Compared to physical inventory or heavy equipment, the barrier to entry here is exceptionally low. The bottom layer represents legal formation. This covers direct government filing fees and independent business banking through platforms like Novo or Starling, which is strictly required to protect the corporate veil. Warning tone: this is also where the first capital leak occurs. Third-party formation services often charge $500 for paperwork that costs as little as $50 to file directly with the state. The middle layer is the tech stack. These are the no-code software subscriptions that form a predictable, fixed-cost operational base. The top layer is the heaviest and most critical allocation of capital: professional liability insurance. Automation carries severe inherent risk. Deploying tech into a client's workflow means a single misconfigured AI agent can misroute confidential emails, corrupt core databases, or expose sensitive financial records. Operating in the automation space without professional liability insurance invites complete financial ruin long before the business acquires enough clients to become profitable. In this consulting model, initial capital is not deployed to purchase goods to sell. It is deployed exclusively to purchase legal shields and software infrastructure. Clients and novice consultants often share the same misconception. They assume building AI tools requires deep Python programming or machine learning architecture. The reality of the 2026 market is that the industry rewards systemic process mapping over raw coding ability. This comparison illustrates the modern workflow. On the left, dense walls of traditional code. On the right, the actual toolset: clean, node-based visual programming logic trees, built in platforms like N8N and Make. Let's look at a concrete use case from the source data. When an incoming invoice arrives in an email, the visual logic tree grabs the document and pushes it into a designated node, where an AI agent extracts the total amount, date, and vendor details. The final step requires no manual data entry. The extracted text is automatically routed into the client's accounting software, or CRM, closing the loop. That same logic applies to real estate. A consultant can map an automation that instantly analyzes an inbound lead's criteria and texts them tailored property matches within seconds. Or in human resources, an AI agent can be deployed to automatically verify, organize, and file employee onboarding documentation, eliminating hours of administrative friction. The modern AI consultant is a process engineer. They observe abstract business friction and transform it into standardized, automated pipelines. Beginners in this space typically start by charging an hourly rate, often between $100 and $200 an hour for custom agent setup and prompt engineering. But hourly billing is a financial trap. It strictly caps revenue based on the consultant's time and fails to capture the long-term financial value the automation creates for the client. This dual-column model shows the path to true scale. Selling individual hours yields a shallow, linear trajectory. Transitioning clients to recurring retainers, charging between $1,500 and $5,000 a month for ongoing workflow management, creates a steep, compounding growth curve. We can trace the unit economics of that retainer model. Here, a massive block of gross revenue flows in from the left. Because the workflow is already built, the monthly overhead is restricted to software subscriptions and back-end maintenance. A tiny sliver of the gross revenue diverts downward to cover these fixed costs. The remaining bulk of that flow pushes straight through to the bottom line, explaining exactly how these solo operators sustain 70 to 90% net profit margins. These margins survive because the structural overhead is nearly non-existent. There is no physical inventory, operations are entirely remote, and software has fixed monthly costs, regardless of how much value the AI processes. Immense profitability is achieved by pricing the result of the automation, the labor hours saved and the human errors reduced, rather than charging for the minutes spent dragging and dropping nodes on a screen. A primary operational failure mode kills new AI consultancies before they can scale. It's known as the generalist trap. Pitching generic AI consulting services creates massive friction in acquiring customers. Small business owners cannot visualize the concrete return on investment of a vague, generalized promise to modernize their company. Surviving requires hyper-niching. Instead of offering everything, successful operators restrict their service to one specific industry and workflow, like AI invoice automation for regional retailers. Hyper-niching provides two distinct advantages. First, it allows the consultant to standardize their own tool stack. If every client needs the same invoice pipeline, the labor hours required to set up a new account drop to near zero. Second, it results in the rapid acquisition of a highly specific, repeatable case study. A verified case study proving exactly how much time and money was saved for a specific type of business is the single most valuable marketing asset an operator can possess. This funnel dashboard synthesizes the business architecture. The process mapping nodes, targeted niche, and liability shield integrate into a single automated engine. Success requires aggressively allocating capital toward legal protection and no-code tools, capturing the value left by business inefficiencies. The successful 2026 consultant secures these margins by standardizing how a specific industry manages its friction.